Elon Musk changed the Twitter logo into a Doge, and now we're seeing a surge in Doge.
Yeah, this is, actually, why don't we bring in our next guest, because he's got a lot of data on this stuff. That's because our next guest is Joshua Frank. He's the co-founder and the CEO of crypto data platform, The Tie. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm glad to see you. So, we saw this, as Christine just said, we saw this increase in Dogecoin after Twitter, head by Elon Musk, who's a big Dogecoin advocate. He replaced the little blue bird with a little dog that all the Doge people seem to love, the Shiba Inu. So what are we seeing in data in terms of that? I mean, what's some of the big picture stuff that we're seeing in this, because that's a hell of an increase here in the price of Doge because of this.
Yeah, it's funny to try to give a sophisticated answer to an incredibly unsophisticated topic, in that it's a meme that went up 30% because Elon, changed the logo on Twitter. But what we've seen is, massive movement, right? The price of the asset surged by over 30% in the first hour and a half alone, dropped a little bit, but really moved back up in Asian hours. And I think what's really interesting to look at is that a huge amount of the volume actually came from Korea. A lot of the volume was traded against the Korean won. On Upbit, there was about 3.5 times the volume on Upbit than on Coinbase, for that matter. And so, really interesting to see. I think something to keep in mind is that crypto does need meme coins, and it needs movement to really move, right? We need that retail liquidity, and that liquidity came the last time when the market was really moving, amidst the hysteria of everything going on in Reddit as it relates to AMC and other stocks as well. So I think it's generally a good thing that retail interest is coming back in the market. For whatever reason, that interest is being driven by Korea, which has historically tended to gamble a bit more on assets than we have in the US and other markets. But I think what's also interesting to take a look at, and I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this, is just the impact of how much of an impact Elon can make. And so we actually tracked a ton of data on this back in 2021 and 2022, in 2020 and 2021. And what we saw was basically 19 instances when Elon came out and tweeted about Dogecoin. The average price movement was very significant. I think it was over 15%. But this actually was the 6th most impactful event ever. So it's still having the same impact as his events did in 2021 and 2020, when the market was really kind of on the tear, leading into that SNL episode when everyone kind of thought Dogecoin was going to go up to $1. And what I think is also really important to note here is this is the second most conversation we've ever seen in terms of a surge, so relative conversation levels caused by Elon Musk on Dogecoin. So we saw about a 700% increase in conversations around Dogecoin. And the second most ever was his first ever tweet on Dogecoin. So he still, has significant impact over the market, clearly.
I just want to follow up on your Korea point, which is really fascinating because Korea has been moving a bunch of coins recently. So just to clarify, do you believe that Korea is the main force geographically behind the Doge surge? And also if you've looked at any other countries, because it's always really interesting to note the geographical distribution of these kind of, rallies.
So I don't think so, given that a lot of the rally happened immediately after the change of the logo and people noticed it. And I believe that was, I don't remember the exact time that came out, so I'd have to look at that, but presumably that was on US hours when that happened. But I think the rally was certainly sustained by traders in Korea. And there was even looking, at around 7 or 8 p.m. last night, which, was early in the morning in Korea. Korea was already a very significant amount of the volume. I think at that time I saw about 600 million in volume over 24 hours in Upbit, which has since surged to 800 million. So there was clearly continued buying throughout the night. But I think this has been a trend that we're seeing kind of broadly since around March 25th, which is that Asian hours and European hours traders are really moving the crypto market. So we had been seeing that for a while. We then saw, amidst the banking crisis, actually the US market brought Bitcoin up. It didn't really bring anything else up, but it brought Bitcoin up kind of on the back of this narrative of, a hedge against banking. Like everything in crypto, that narrative lasted about 3 days, and then we moved on to the next narrative, right? And now it seems like, the market once again is being moved in non-US hours trading, because US basically every coin across the board is trailing on US hours over the last 2 or so weeks.
I just want to note that, Dogecoin future liquidations jumped to $26 million after Twitter displayed that token logo for Doge for some users. Also wanted to ask, for Elon, do we know how much he personally holds, or how much Tesla holds, or even SpaceX, and even Twitter, and in terms of, is that being tracked?
We don't have data. I don't think anybody has done a tremendous. Dogecoin is its own blockchain, so I don't think anybody is really doing Dogecoin on-chain data. Maybe there are a couple of people that are really trying to dive into it. So I'm not entirely sure, though. I think Gary Gensler would love to know the answer to that question more than anyone.
We should reach out to him and see what he's tracking. So let's step back a little bit. Besides Doge, you kind of mentioned some of the movement happening during U.S. hours. What do you suppose is, as you mentioned, this sort of rush to crypto during the kind of flash banking crisis that we had a couple of weeks ago? Has that sustained itself so far, or have things died down? Where are you seeing right now a lot of the volumes happening? Is it mostly into Bitcoin? Is it mostly during U.S. hours? What are we looking at here right now? If you were to say this is what the market looks like right now.
Yeah, I think that's a hard question to answer. Over the last 7 days, almost everything is outperforming Bitcoin. So I think this Bitcoin narrative has kind of subsided a little bit in that, kind of this rush from banks into Bitcoin. It lasted for a few weeks. Over the last 30 days, Bitcoin, and in 90 days, Bitcoin is outperforming almost everything in the market, with the exception of, almost nothing, maybe XRP, which has performed very well, kind of, on the back of rumors that maybe they're going to win their lawsuit against the SEC at a close period of time. But we've definitely seen a rotation that happens in crypto a lot. Generally, Bitcoin is the asset that moves first, and the rest of the market kind of follows behind it. So I don't think there's anything that we can say with conviction. I think a lot of the volumes are certainly not in the US, and the market broadly is moving on non-US hours. For whatever reason, privacy coins actually seem to be doing the best in Asia hours. I don't have a great explanation for that. I wonder if anybody here has a thought. But the market broadly seems to be moving outside of the US.
Where are those privacy? I mean, did you, when you mentioned privacy coins, are they happening? Let's say on Binance. Are they happening on any specific exchanges? An exit out of Bitcoin and into some privacy coins.
I can definitely look at the data on that. I'm looking more at in terms of the actual hours of trading. So if we look at what we broadly define as Asian hours versus US hours, Asian hours, for whatever reason, I mean, privacy coins are up very significantly during that time period.
Just one question about the whole hours thing, though. I mean, I'm very fascinated by this topic, but there's kind of ways to game the hours question, right? Like bots, algorithmic trading. I mean, are we really confident that just looking at hours really indicates geographical location?
I think that's a fair point, but I think the fact that we're seeing, in at least the case of Dogecoin, a lot of the buying happening on a Korean exchange and seeing the activity happen on Asian hours, I think to your point and Lawrence's point, it's a combination of the two, right? So I think you probably have to look into both to build conviction. But I think the fact that a lot of that activity is happening on retail exchanges, means that, yes, there's a market maker on the other side of the trade, right? But it means that it's likely happening in that region.
All right, Josh, thanks so much for joining us and providing your insights. That was the Tide co-founder and CEO, Josh Frank.